welcome to my kitchen conversations. I am so delighted you've joined me today, and our topic today is so important. With me in my kitchen is Carolyn Michaelis-Moe, and Carolyn is a geriatric specialist. And today we're going to be talking about elder care, fact that all of us are getting older. I know, not you or me, right?
No, not us.
No, we're not, of course we're not getting older. However, how do you plan to care for your parents? And what are you planning even for yourself? Because I guess, golly, I guess we really have to, don't we?
So we really do have to plan. You know, Hazel, I brought a little picture I wanted to show you. Actually, I made this into the front of my brochure, and it actually is a picture of my husband being held by his uncle, and that's his mother in the little apron, back on the farms in South Dakota.
Well, I relate to the farm in South Dakota. That's where I grew up.
You do.
I love this picture. I love the farmer in his overalls because my daddy always had overalls. And I love the mother in an apron.
Right, and back in the farm days, you know, people actually had, well, they actually lived on the farm. In fact, we went back to visit some of Byron's relatives back in South Dakota, and they actually had a 95-year-old auntie that was living out on the farm still by herself. Is this safe? Well, I don't know about that, but that is just what the farm people did, and they were very resilient, and that's what they wanted to do.
Well, this speaks really to my heart, and you know, you knew my mom and dad, you know my dad, but my parents lived on the farm. My daddy was 87. The year my sister and I had to say, Dad, this is no longer safe for you.
Right.
You're going to go out of the house, you're going to fall down.
Yes.
Mother's going to go out of the house. It'll be January because you'll have slid on the ice and you'll both freeze to death because you can't get back to the house.
Right.
And my dad had been born in that house on that farm.
My.
So I take this man, 87 years old, who's never been anywhere else. We sell everything.
Oh my.
Everything they have.
Oh, what a loss to them,
Put a little stuff in a box. Leave that beautiful farm, and it was a beautiful farm. Big barns. Lots of open spaces. You could. Mother stood in the kitchen window and knew every car that went down the gravel road.
And that's what they did. They had the gravel roads back there. And again, how does one access health care? My parents decided to retire on a gorgeous piece of property that they bought back when it was a speculative lake, and it did become a beautiful lake. It's become a resort in Southern Virginia, and they are 45 minutes from the nearest major medical center.
45. My mother and dad were 15 minutes from a 16-bed hospital.
Yes,
and if this gives you any perspective, Walmart is 72 miles from the farm.
Oh, no.
And there is some major health care there. But how do they get there in the winter?
Exactly.
And what are children to do?
I actually had an experience last January, not this past, but the previous one, where my father was getting snowed in. The heater had gone off in the house. My sister, fortunately, was at the house with him at that time. She's been caring for my mother and father at their own home, so they could stay there at the lake. But we actually had to get an ambulance to come before the ice got too bad on the slanted driveway so that they could get my father out and get him over to the 16-bed hospital that was the closest one where he could have respite for a little while until we could get the heater fixed and the heat back on in the house and be able to take care of him again there. People are out in these places, and it's just extremely difficult to get care. To access care from their areas.
That is such an important issue, and I think it's an important issue from people of our age because, you know, we've been working hard, we've been living in the city, and we go, oh, okay, one of these days I'm going to be rich. I don't know what rich means, but I am going to leave, you know, the city, and I'm going to go live in the mountains. Oh, the mountains of Colorado. Don't they just call your heart? It's just beautiful. It's pristine. And you can't do it anymore. You pass that 60th, 65th birthday, 70th birthday, you are so foolish to move to that beautiful, beautiful place. You need to be close to an airport.
Close to an airport and close to medical facilities. We have friends a little bit older than I am, very resilient couple. They decide to sell everything, move into a motorhome, and buy a piece of property on the mountains right north of New Mexico in Colorado.
Oh, it's gorgeous there.
It's gorgeous.
Like by Durango?
Until the first time that he fell into the property, the house that he was building's hole. They were building a little hole.
Basement.
And they fell into the basement, shattered his leg.
Oh.
Guess what? He's now immobilized. And here they are on top of the mountain in Colorado.
Wow. Yes.
and a long ways from Colorado Springs and a good medical center. It's where he had to have surgery.
I know it's really challenging to have to determine to move your parents. I did it.
Very much so.
It's so hard. And you know the other thing that's just amazing, you know when you grow up and leave home, you do it for a reason?
Yeah.
There's a really good reason you've left home.
Yeah.
And then you move your mother in your backyard. Oi!
Oi, is that ever something?
Yeah, but that happened. So I know nobody wants to think their mom's going to come live with them, although I keep telling my son, add a room to your garage because I'm coming.
And he says, have I told you I've left for Nicaragua?
So pretty much all of us are going to need something.
At some point in time. And you know, the sad thing about it is, now you have wonderful children. I've known your children for a long time. They've been in my singing groups, etc. I have no children.
There you go. My sister doesn't either.
What do people do that have no children? I have nobody that can put a room on the garage for me.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, you better be awfully nice to your nieces and nephews.
You know, that is a thought, but they're all back in Virginia, so.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult.
Yeah,
so
makes
how
it
do you
extremely
plan
difficult.
for your own care, even if it's you?
Me, and me.
And how much does it cost, Carolyn?
Oh boy, Hazel. I actually brought some figures with me because I knew that you and the people that you're talking to would want to know something about how we're going to pay for costs.
We do.
First of all, I want to get rid of some misconceptions.
Okay.
Don't think that Medicare is going to pay for it.
No, Medicare doesn't pay much.
As you and I were working in home health once upon a time, a long time ago, we found out that Medicare will only pay for certain skilled services if the person is homebound. Now, my mother was horrible about monitoring her medications, horrible about getting infections and going into chronic lung problems, being readmitted to hospitals. She cost Medicare thousands of dollars that could have been prevented if a home health nurse like us had been willing to go out there, able to go out there. Medicare was not going to pay for it because my mother and father once a week went out to a Chinese restaurant to have dinner.
And that's called not homebound.
Not homebound. You have to be homebound and have the skilled need in order for Medicare to pay for the service. If they're not going to pay for the service, a lot of older people either can't afford it or won't put that kind of money in it because after all, I'm fine, and I can do it all by myself.
That's right.
That's right. So we don't plan on Medicare paying for any of it. Now, some people have bought long-term care insurance policies, and let me tell you a horrible story. I assisted a gentleman with the end-stage care of his wife just this past month. They bought 2 long-term care insurance policies. One of them wouldn't pay until the person has needed help for 30 days. She died in 10 days.
Oh!
He had put out $66,000
into long-term care.
Into long-term care.
That gave him nothing.
Zero, not a goose egg.
No. Oh.
Sad.
Very sad. His $60,000 put into a good account could have grown.
Yes. Could have grown. It would have been better for him to put in a savings account, quite honestly.
Right.
At least he would have had $60,000 to pay for the care. Hassling with long-term care insurance is one of the things that I do as a geriatric care manager. One of the things we do is make phone calls, harass them, get them to pay out. And
I know that word is harassment because, I'm not here to discourage people from insurances.
No, that's not the point. But you have to be very careful when you get a long-term care insurance policy. A little piece of the fine print.
You miss a little piece of it, of the fine print, and you are out dead. Or they take your policy that you've been paying for years and quadruple it.
Now, I had another couple. Very well-known couple in Redlands, home to store in Redlands, and their son had bought long-term care insurance policies for the both of them, but the policies only covered them if they went into a nursing home.
Right.
They were well enough off that they didn't want to go into a nursing home. They wanted to stay. No, most people don't. They wanted to stay in their own home. They had 24-hour caregivers. It was actually less expensive to have one 24-hour caregiver with a couple in their own home than it was to have 2 people in a nursing home. Yes. So they never actually got any benefit out of those long-term care insurance policies because they were only nursing home geared. If you contact a geriatric care manager in your area, they can help you determine the kinds of what would you say, caveats or rules or things that you would want to look at in order to be able to get a long-term care insurance policy if you want to. And of course, at our age, my dear.
We are already disqualified because we are old.
Well, actually, no. This is a good time to buy it if you're going to buy one because the earlier you buy it, the less per month that you pay. On the other hand, one company has already stopped doing long-term care insurances that was formerly in it, and a number of companies are looking as to whether or not they want to continue because as people are getting older, They can be in facilities longer, and they can pay out. So for the poor man that paid out $66,000 and got no benefit out of it, there may be 10 people who have actually gotten something out of it, gotten payment out of it, and so therefore the companies are going, this isn't a good financial deal.
So then what you don't know can hurt you.
Oh, can it ever?
So what kind of things do I need to know if I'm planning for myself or my parents?
There's a current crisis in financing elder care. Most of it is going to have to be through private pay. Medi-Cal is only available to people, or Medicaid in certain states, in California it's Medi-Cal, is only available to people who have less than $2,000 worth of cash assets.
Right, it's very
small. Now that's
small.
CDs, stocks, bonds, any kind of a cash asset that they have in their account, in their savings account and everything. And don't think you're going to give it all to your children either, Hazel, because Medi-Cal is going to look back for 5 years to see if you dispersed those funds that you should have been saving to take care of your old age.
There you go.
And they will reclaim those.
Okay.
So you can't be just giving them away. There is private pay, and again, you get what you pay for, so don't think that you're going to hire the little girl down the street or the auntie that just came in from Portugal or something and doesn't speak any English to take care of your parents, because then you're going to be facing all sorts of legal problems. Like, for example, Portuguese lady hurts her back taking care of your mom or your dad. Right. And workers' comp, and who do they sue?
Hello.
Hazel's rich, let's sue her. So that's one of the problems. So it really helps to get a private geriatric care manager that can help you get through all of that, and also help you find the agencies that can take care of your parents that are good, valid, well-respected agencies.
And that's terribly
lots
important.
Of them out there.
There are so many people out there, and it's like, who do you trust? Who's in it to give you?
Springing up like mushrooms on the lawn.
Who do you find that will provide the right care, that will be bonded, that are reliable and trustworthy, and will show up?
We just interviewed a wonderful potential caregiver the other day. Got her DOJ report, her Department of Justice report back. Oh, excuse me, she has a couple felonies in her background. Would you want to take care of your mom?
Not so much.
Yeah, there you go.
Not so much.
So that's part of the problem. You don't, all things are not as they appear.
So things are very expensive. How much does it cost?
Well, again, it depends upon where you want to go and what you want to do. We have to look at two things. We have to look at cost, but we also have to look at values.
Yes.
What is your family value? Is your family value having mom and dad stay at home? Are the children willing to kick in? Are your 4 kids willing to kick in when you and your husband need to have care at some point in time, saying that you don't have enough savings for yourself? Right. And how much is that going to cost? Currently, you can get an hourly caregiver for somewhere between $16 to $25 an hour at an agency, through an agency. Through an agency. This is not a private hire. We do not recommend private hires because there is no way of validating background and workers' compensation and bonding and all of that. An agency will help you with that. So if you had 4 hours of help a day, and many times that's enough. That's enough. To be able to help what they call stabilize the person. It gets them their breakfast, it gives them their morning meds, it prepares a little lunch, and it maybe leaves a little supper in the refrigerator for them. So you've got those problems of malnutrition, dehydration, and medication monitoring taken care of, sometimes with just as little as 4 hours a day. And if you did that for 4 hours a day, you'd be looking at about $35,000 plus the cost of maintaining the home. That's not an awful lot, but it is money. It is. Yes. But if you went into a retirement facility and say that they were charging you about $2,500 a month, of course, I'd want to go to the one at Laguna Beach, which is $4,500 a month. That's right. Might as well have some amenities. Absolutely, if you want to look out the beach. That's going to run you around $54,000 a year. Okay, and that's more than. And that's not the Laguna Beach one. That's more than your Social Security. You think? And my pension, I have no pension because I'm an independent practitioner. Right. Assisted living can be a little bit less depending upon where you go, but it can be up to $5,000 a month. 5 times 12, $60,000 for the year. Or 66. Now, there are facilities in California and other states called board and care facilities, which are private homes where an individual can live with 4 or 5 other clients, and they're taken care of by a couple of caregivers. It's very good for people that are hard to transport or move, transfer from one place to another, because you have 2 caregivers on board. They tend to run, they can be as cheap as $900 a month, but you wouldn't want to have your parent there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they
I've been
can
in
be
them.
up to 5,000. Yes. Remember in home health
Yes.
nurses, we visited some of those places.
I had some
and we're
places
going,
that were great, and I had some places that were not great.
Not great, not great.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I've got to save enough money so I don't end up here.
Yeah.
But they can be, again, $3,000 a month is not unusual.
No,
That's
that would be-
$3,600 to $36,000 a year. Up to $48,000 a year, depending upon how much they cost. A specialized care for dementia sometimes is more expensive.
Yes.
Yeah. Skilled nursing facilities, though, even though they have what they call custodial care in there, are running right now around $185, unless you're in New York City where they're running $250 a day.
Wow, a day. $250 a day.
That's private pay for that, unless you've got long-term care insurance that covers it,
that.
or you're on Medicaid or something. But even at $185 a day, you're still looking at about $67,000 for the year.
For the year.
So you're not looking at what's going to be covered by your Social Security.
So we know we need to be tucking some monies away.
Oh, and Hazel, I have to explain to you. Most people think if they are going into a nursing home that Medicare is going to cover that, and they're going to cover it for at least 90 days. That's a myth.
That's another myth, yes. That's another myth.
Right, because Medicare is going to cover the number of days while the person is there receiving skilled services, which we referred to a couple of minutes ago.
Right.
And that is defined by Medicare, not by you and me.
Right. We don't know what skilled is, but skilled is they have to be getting physical therapy.
Right.
They're maybe on
Some kind of a
antibiotics, IVs, or
Antibiotics,
something's happening.
Although many times those can be done at home.
Yes.
Yes. We have a client that was getting tube feedings in through the gastric tube in the stomach. The facility would not be qualified, the facility would not qualify him for Medicare coverage if he was receiving that through a pump.
Oh, because the pump can sit at home.
Right.
Yeah.
However, if he was getting bolus feedings,
Where they pour it down a
pour
tube.
it down a tube, pour it down into a little syringe and let that go into the tube, that is considered a skilled service.
Okay, I'm not going to try to figure that one out, but when we
Don't try to figure it out. No, don't try to figure it out.
So we know we need to
And
set some money
after the
away.
first 20 days, you
Then
pay
it's
a
fine.
copay.
Yes.
Of sometimes up to $140 a day for copay.
Wow.
Which if you don't have a secondary insurance in addition to your Medicare, that's what you pay out of pocket.
Yes. So there's a lot of costs to getting older. So I'm not going to get old, okay?
Okay.
No, I'm not going to get old,
well.
but we have...
Good luck on this one.
Yeah, good luck on this one, because the next thing comes with, as your parents age, as your family members age, we know that they start being able to do certain things less well.
Right, right.
But they want to be
Oh, I can hear where this one's going.
independent. Okay, how do you start? And you're a care manager, so you've had to sit by sons and daughters as
Yes.
they've had to have very difficult discussions with their parents.
Right.
Let's pick a couple of the difficult discussions. One, they shouldn't be driving anymore.
This is true.
Oh, this is a tough one.
Probably even before that
What comes what?
is getting some extra help in the house, that 4-hour-a-day person. Or
Well,
even,
but who wants somebody?
I don't want a stranger in my house.
I don't. Oh, this is my mother.
And besides that, they could steal all of my
Great, valuable junk.
great, valuable junk. Right.
That's right. No, I hear that from my mother now because she's living
What
alone.
we try to tell people is if you want to maintain your independence, the best way to do it is get a little bit of help. And this is a little bit of help. And then normally, as we get a little bit of help,
Then it's not quite so scary to get a little more.
get a little bit more. Right.
Great idea.
Right.
And-
So we try to tell them this is a help to your staying independence, not a taking away. Then the caregiver on that little bit of help can do the driving.
Now,
I had
that's a great idea.
I have a great story to tell you.
Yes.
I went to visit one of my little ladies, and she said, "Oh, that man at Stater Brothers is so nice." I said, "Oh? What did the man at Stater Brothers do for you?" "Well, he got my car off of the curb, and, and he
sorry, this
backed
is
it
sad.
up, and he got somebody else to drive me home, and then he drove my car home after he got it off from over the curb. Wasn't that nice of him?"
Oh,
And
my.
I'm going, "Oh, dear."
Well, this was my mother-in-law. My mother voluntarily, on her 80th birthday, gave us her keys.
Oh,
Now,
Hazel, you are so blessed.
I was, but you
There's the
you
halo
see-
around your hair I can see right now.
Well, she's a little farm wife from South Dakota, and
Yeah.
driving in California was way too scary.
Oh, it's very scary.
And
It's
her
very
license
scary.
expired, so she gave me the keys. On the other hand, my mother-in-law, 87 years
A
old.
little more challenging?
Little more challenging. Independent school teacher, just this amazing
Yeah.
woman. has this large car around her.
Absolutely.
Big, you know?
Yes.
And she comes to her only son, my husband, one day and said, you know, Danny, these people in this town drive terrible. Why, there are streaks and my mirror's broken off on the passenger side of the car.
Dear.
And I said, oh, Dan, this is really bad because she's driving farther and farther to the right side of the road so she doesn't hit oncoming traffic.
So, and she's hitting the mailboxes.
Oh, I don't know what's gone. I don't know. And that is such a dilemma.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So you get the caregiver to drive them. I like that.
That's one of the solutions. But the other solution is there are times when they don't accept the caregiver and you're saying, what can we do? First of all, you need to find out what kinds of transportation is available and then be able to say to them, you don't have to do the driving anymore. It's very expensive to maintain a car. You've got the car insurance, you've got licenses, etc. Frequently, if it comes to the time for a car license to expire and you can get them in to take the test or something and they fail the test, you are very blessed also there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can study very, very well.
And
Very
still
well, and still pass the test.
I want my
Can
parents...
the family doctor be helped you here?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Actually, if there are some problems like this, you can call the family doctor and there is a form that they can send in, that they can fill in and send into DMV that says you need to do an actual physical
examination
test
of their
where
abilities.
they can see whether or not they can park, whether they can drive. With a little bit of luck, you're going to get a police officer that's more concerned about the public good than he is concerned about making sure that his mother also is able to drive. Because I've had that kind too, and they'll say, oh, she's doing all right. I saw her drive 1 block, and we're going, 1 block?
Yeah. Did it have a stop sign in it?
Did it have a stop sign in it? Did it have a left turn in it?
So let's talk a little bit. We got the car taken care of, we hope.
We hope.
So how do you, if there's siblings, now you get into family feud, now you get into arguments, and you know, looking at my 3 children, I just think they're going to be delightful. They're going to love each other. They're going to be sitting there in perfect harmony when they make the decision about mom. But the reality...
Let me check your temperature, darling. Yes. Okay. Well.
Reality is, I know it doesn't work that way. You know, one kid's going to be more worried about the money. Another kid's going to be more worried about, well, I don't want her to move in with me.
Me?
So,
Mom gives orders. I don't want her moving in.
Yeah, we moved away from her once.
Yeah, right. There was a reason.
What kind of options or opportunities are available to us now to ensure that things are a little better for us?
You know, advanced planning. Advanced planning is the key to all of this. We deal with Family Feud a lot. It is not a TV game, trust me. It is unbelievable sometimes, the fights that can come in families. I have some people that come to me and they're the only child. And they say, I'm the only one. I have to do everything. And I'm going, thank your lucky stars.
How lucky you are. Huh?
There is no one to argue with. There is nobody else's decision to make to have any problems with, etc. So you are very fortunate, and I'll help you. I'll provide the extra hands and feet on the street there to be able to help you. But the people that do have 4 or 5, again, you mentioned it, they come with different kinds of agendas, different kind of vested interests. And I will tell you, a lot of our business is finding out, okay, where's the money?
Yes.
Follow the money. Who's looking for the money? Is there one daughter on welfare and she's very concerned about how the finances are being taken, and I wonder why?
Yeah.
Or a lot of times, unfortunately, or not me, I should say a lot of times, but occasionally we'll find families with a drug or alcohol problem in one of the children.
Yes.
And they want the money because they have to support their habit.
And
or
rest
they're not
of the
responsible enough to be able to do the care for mom
wants
that
to
needs
make
to be done.
sure that they don't get it.
Absolutely.
So there's
Absolutely. There's that pull and that tension all the time about what the family members are doing. I have actually had families where all 4 children agreed.
That's lovely.
It is so wonderful. It is just so wonderful, but I wish it happened more often. Right. Sometimes they actually have to go to court if there are not enough advanced planning documents, and they actually have to have what's called a private conservator appointed for the person and for the estate. And that is a person who is legally appointed by the court to make the decisions for this person because the 4 children can't get along and can't agree on what can happen.
Wow.
Thousands and thousands of dollars of the family estate goes to attorneys to fight for this. And it is just so sad to see this happen when those thousands of dollars could be spent on providing more excellent care for the older folks. Yeah. And instead of that, we're taking care of the attorneys for the children. And the courts always appoint an attorney for the older person, too.
So there's 2. So you're paying for 2.
You're what? Or at least 2, probably more like 5.
So, planning for myself, I'm going to make sure that I've had discussions with my children.
Absolutely.
I can spend a little time looking at it, making sure I have advanced directives and make sure in your state you know what those are, and make sure you write down what you really want. Every single state has advanced directive planning.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to talk this over with your doctor.
Actually, your best thing to do would be to talk it over with your elder care lawyer. There is actually an organization called the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys.
Okay,
those are specialists.
Say that again.
National Association for Elder Law Attorneys. NAELA.
But I'm sure you can Google that on your
You can probably
machine.
Google that, elder law attorney, on your computer, or your children can. They then can sit down with the whole family and make sure that all of the documents are put into place that need to be done so that the family can have all of the decisions made that they need to. That's decisions about what they want done at end of life.
Yes.
And did you know that in California we now have a form as of 2009 called a POST?
It's
And
another
that's a physician's order for life-sustaining treatment.
It's
a
alphabets.
hot pink form.
Yeah.
Let's see, nothing hot pink around here. Maybe the rooster comb or something.
Yeah.
And that hot pink form is done by the physician and also by the family member or by the person. All they have competency. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Right.
Don't wait to have these conversations until way late. You need to have these conversations way early in this discussion and make sure that they're what you want to have done. The children and you have to agree on this ahead of time, and that way it really helps prevent having to have your estate monitored by a person who doesn't even know you. And while private conservators are very, very good, many of them are quite good, you certainly don't want to have someone else making decisions that you'd really like a family that hopefully cares for you to make.
Well, I hope today that you have learned a lot of things and that your mind is filled, a raging torrent of thoughts of things that you want to do in your own life. It's very important that all of us plan. We are getting older. It is inevitable. We will age and we will need care. So I hope I've encouraged you with Carolyn's help today to have a great conversation with your children and your family members. Be sure you're all in agreement about what you're going to do when your health changes, when your abilities change.
Right.
Make those plans early and be very firm on them. Proactive. Get in touch with geriatric care managers if that's what you need. Find your elder care attorneys. Make sure your paperwork's in order. Make sure people know where your things are and that your wishes is how it is your life. It is, after all, your life.
Your life.
So until we meet again on Kitchen Conversations, enjoy that life. Fill it up. Make it the best you can.